Hello my Juicy co-creators! Lilou here on the Juicy Living Tour, today in California, and actually the Redwoods, right in the middle of the Redwoods in Mill Valley with Tom Eddington. Hello Tom!
Hello Lilou.
It's good to meet you!
It's wonderful to meet you.
I met this man through, the connection was actually Bob Zimmer, wonderful Bob Zimmer. What a treat this man is, and what a connector he is.
He's wonderful. He's an amazing man.
Yeah, and now this is great because you have a wonderful personal story. Something happened to you 5-6 years ago that tremendously shifted your life. Can you tell us what that was?
Sure. I had, without knowing it at the time, I had been living a fairly one-dimensional life. I was a partner in a management consulting firm, working 60, 80, 100-hour weeks, traveling all over the world, and thought that everything was fine by outward appearances. From an American perspective at least, I had a wonderful life. And the reality was my life was work.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2004, I started having some health problems. I started losing my eyesight, I started losing my memory, I was tired all the time, and after about 6 months of going from doctor to doctor to doctor, I discovered that I was sick from Lyme disease. And the bacterial infection that was causing my constellation of symptoms was making me progressively sicker and sicker and sicker. And after 6 months of trying to find a doctor, I finally found a wonderful physician who started treating me. And he began with initially oral antibiotics, and then I had a plastic tube, a PICC line, inserted in my my left bicep, run up to my heart, and I started doing or IV antibiotics 3 times a day in addition to oral antibiotics. And over the next probably 18 months, I didn't leave the house. I couldn't do anything. I would go blind anytime I would try and read or use a computer or drive. Any kind of focus concentration resulted in loss of eyesight. I had no short-term memory. I had no cognitive ability. I was tired all the time. I was just in really bad shape. I didn't realize, I was so sick that I didn't realize how sick I was. And I was immensely grateful that that was the summer of the Olympics in Athens and the Tour de France, and that's all I could do was sit in front of the TV.
So you had to stop working? I
had to stop working. I couldn't do anything. I literally couldn't do anything at all for about 18 months. And I've spent the last 7 years slowly trying to regain my health. And over the course of those 7 years, initially I lost my health, and that's what I thought I had lost. And then I realized that not only did I lose my health, but I lost my identity. Because my identity was completely wrapped up in my job, my partnership in my firm, my income. I lost everything, or what I thought was everything.
That was your reference point.
It was completely my reference point. And fortunately, I laugh about it now, but at the time I couldn't laugh about it. But I laugh about it now because it was only through that process of losing everything that I gained my life back. And fortunately, I didn't gain my old life back, but I actually gained a much better, much fuller, much richer life.
Were there signs before that that could have told you, or that you could have seen beforehand, or that people could see in their life if they're at that stage? Possibly.
I was so wrapped up in my career and my job and the work that I was doing that there may have been symptoms, there may have been problems, physical problems, but I wasn't aware of it. And any that I had, I attributed to just working long hours and living on airplanes and traveling around the world.
So how did you rediscover a new way of life, and how are you living it now?
Well, a couple of things. I was working with my doctor, and while he's a Western-trained MD, he was open to some alternative medicine, so he encouraged me to start seeing an acupuncturist. And then at some point he introduced me to an energy medicine doctor. And then I started using a variety of herbs. And just slowly I started down this path of realizing that the Western medicine could only help me so much, and that the physical component of my health was only a piece of it. And so over the last 7 years, I realized that, yes, there was a physical piece to my illness, but I also recognized there was a psychological and emotional piece to my illness, and that there was a spiritual piece to my illness, and there was an energetic piece to my illness, and there was a community piece to my illness. And so I started working to find practitioners and people in each of those 5 areas to help me in my healing journey. And so initially it was Western medicine, and I think about it in terms of a compass point. Without realizing it, I was heading due south. My life was on a path that was not going to, well, it was going to end badly. And with the introduction of some Eastern medicine, I started moving from due south to probably southeast. And then when I started in my spiritual journey, as part of my healing process, I met a wonderful Tibetan Lama. And working with Rinpoche, he helped me both on an energetic perspective, but also on a spiritual path, which had me heading east at that point in my life. And as I've continued to do more work with energy medicine, and I've been taking a class the last year and a half in Berkeley on energy and energy medicine, and how to manage my personal energy, and working with a variety of practitioners to help in each of those 5 areas to help me with my healing. Because what I've realized is, while there was a physical manifestation of the healing that came from the bacterial infection, there were other traumas that I had experienced in my life, other things that I had encountered, that it was almost as if the bacterial infection was the tipping point. And yes, I had to address that, but I also had to go deeper.
So it started way earlier, you're saying, on another level before manifested in the physical level.
Absolutely.
Did you find out what, when, how?
I
what was
don't
the
know.
journey? What was your healing journey like? I mean, did you find different layers?
Oh, absolutely. It's been absolutely wonderful. I went to I went to a retreat in 2008, and in advance of the retreat, I was going because of this. My Rinpoche, my teacher, was going to be teaching for the week, and so I signed up. I didn't know anyone who was going to be there other than the Rinpoche and his translator. And maybe 2 weeks before I went to the retreat, I had a meeting with Jack Kornfeld at Spirit Rock, and I was introducing an executive director of a nonprofit because she was interested in work in Burma, and Jack had spent time in Burma. So I introduced her to Jack, and at the end of our time together, Jack went to the bookstore at Spirit Rock and got 3 books of his that he had written. He autographed them, gave them to us, and the book that he gave me was called Wise Heart. And as I was flying to Arizona to go on my retreat, I was reading his book. And when I arrived in Arizona, I did some shamanic journeying, and through the shamanic journeying, I experienced a profound I don't know how to describe it other than it was just an amazing experience where I became the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, and I was given my heart.
Oh, cool.
And at the end of the...
Oh, you were the Tin Man.
Yeah. And at the end of the journey, I literally, my chest was aching as if someone had just ripped my rib cage open and gave me my heart back. And over the course of the week, the Rinpoche was teaching the Heart Sutra. And I just had a number of experiences by the end of the week. It was an amazing transformation. And what I've subsequently realized was that while I started a physical journey to heal myself, I had a series of what I would call magical experiences that created an awakening. And through that awakening process, I experienced a major shift and transformation in my life.
Was there an intention that created that, or something that you said that allowed this journey to really unfold that rapidly and magically for you? Was there a moment where you really prayed, or you like said, please give me another answer here?
There really wasn't.
No?
It really wasn't. It was almost as if the universe was treating me as if I were a hibernating bear, and I had been hibernating my whole life, and had my, well, as I said, just had been living this one-dimensional life. And I was awakened from this slumber by the universe that kept throwing these magical encounters, these magical experiences, and these amazing synchronicity of people dropping into my life and experiences that I was having. And I laugh now because at the time I wasn't connecting the dots. But upon reflection, I realized that I was just so asleep that I had to be bombarded with multiple experiences to really awaken. And once I did, then it created this amazing transformation in my life. So once I got to a point where I was physically able to start doing things again, I was at a point where I was able to work maybe 10 hours a week. And I made a decision at that time that I was only going to undertake activities that were with organizations and people that were trying to make the world a better place. And I wanted to be with people that I admired and respected and liked. I wanted to be in situations where I could both teach and learn. And those three filters have been the filters on how I make decisions on what I choose to do in my life. And my health is still quite limited. I'm still have significant restrictions. And so I'm trying to be very practical about how I use the time that I do have. And coming out of the experience that I had, I frankly wasn't sure that I was going to live. And having had that opportunity to reflect on my life and be given the opportunity to still be alive.
Have a second chance.
Have a second chance to be able to do things. I'm just very discerning about how I spend my time and what I do. And it's very much focused on doing everything I can to share what I've experienced and to help create the world that we all would like to have.
Yeah, and you're giving back a lot to top executives now and helping them to shift.
I am. I'm trying to. I feel incredibly grateful for the experience that I've had. I was in an organization and I was at a place in my life where it was very important to be the smartest guy in the room. And what I've realized is I've been given this gift of wisdom, and I'm trying to impart that on others. And so I've made a choice to spend time with executives and senior leaders to help them without having to go through the physical experiences that I've gone through.
Yeah.
Help them learn and to be better leaders, more effective leaders, leading better organizations, and essentially try to be really wise stewards of their organization and realizing the impact they have on the people in their organization, the families, the society, the communities they work in. So as much of my time as I can, I spend with them, helping them not just be good business leaders, but be incredible human beings. And life is too messy to think they can be just a effective business leader. They have to bring their whole selves to their leadership responsibilities.
Yeah, do they find themselves wiser afterwards once they tap into this extraordinary field?
I hope so. I mean, the feedback I get from them is that it has made a big difference in their lives.
It increased creativity. And,
increased creativity, and unfortunately, in the workplace in America, it's so focused on the legal system that by the time people arrive at work, they've left so much of themselves behind. They've left their soul behind. They've left their personality. They've left their emotions. They've left so much of who they are as human beings. And so the work I do with the leaders that I have an opportunity to work with is to help them recognize that they need to be a whole person. They need to bring their whole self to work, and they need to create an environment where their employees, their staff, can bring their whole self to work as well.
Well, where do you start when you're in such a wheel, it feels like you're in a wheel, huh? Like a hamster.
Yeah,
kind
absolutely.
of turning around. And
Absolutely.
where do you start from? I guess that the people that are already contacting you are already open and they're ready to make.
They're certainly
so that's
open
big,
to it. Yeah. They're certainly open to it.
And then what? How do you go about them, suggesting them something bigger? Like if right now there are some people that are in the corporate world and really feel stuck, what would you tell them?
A couple of things. With the leaders that I work with, typically when I work with them, I will go on a walk with them and get them out of their office,
redwoods,
get them out of their workspace, and get them out in nature, and get them out away from their normal life.
Cell phone and the computer.
Their cell phone, their computer, and get rid of all the electronics and get them out in nature. And I will go for a walk with them and have a conversation.
And what do you witness there?
What I witness is they're able to remember what it means to be human. They're able to not be distracted because there's the beauty of nature. And I can point things out to them, whether it's the birds or the trees or the grass or the ocean or the sounds of nature. And they become much more present. And through that process, they learn how to be present in every setting, in every situation that they're in. And we'll spend time just talking about their life, about their family, about who they are, about how they got to where they have gotten to in their organization, about what their dreams are, their aspirations. And the conversations are far-reaching. And yes, part of it's business, part of it's about their leadership, but mostly it's about what it means to be human.
Isn't it a journey to live with an open heart?
Oh, it's absolutely, absolutely. And that's a big part of what I share with them is how to be vulnerable and to be okay with vulnerability and the gifts that you get in life when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, because others will then be vulnerable. And
it's very important.
It's essential. It truly is part of what it means to be human. And unfortunately, in our society, we don't allow people to do that.
Especially for men?
Especially for men. Especially for men. And men in business and in leadership positions.
So what's this new business sense that you have now, being a man? Is it possible to combine business with an open heart?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. And the work that I'm doing and the leaders that I'm working with, that's what I'm trying to help them understand, is that by being vulnerable, by having an open heart, they actually can have a better relationship with their staff, and people will be able to bring their best selves to work.
Isn't that wonderful?
What
a
wonderful
journey you had, and what an opportunity for others, and what a new realm you're opening to the whole business, executive, corporate world here.
It's very surprising to me. I never would have guessed that my life would have taken the journey that it did.
Much bigger, huh?
Much bigger. Much bigger.
That's amazing.
Having worked for large corporations, having spent most of my adult life working in an organization, I had a perception of what it meant to be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
I had a perception of what it meant to be a human being. And through the last 7 years and the journey I've had, it's been the most amazing gift. The most amazing gift. And the irony is that so many of my friends and people, family members, think, how horrible that I lost my job, that I lost my income, that I lost so much. And the reality is I've gotten so much more than what I've lost.
This is beautiful. What a great testimonial, especially in these times.
It is, and it's interesting because we all have our suffering. We all have our journeys, and it's an opportunity to learn. And rather than seeing it as pain, seeing it as suffering, seeing it as something horrible, I've experienced that reframing is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. And if we can just reframe how we see suffering, if we can reframe how we see
A job
situations,
loss.
a job loss, that simple act of reframing, it's absolutely remarkable.
So what could it be like for people that lost their job, a reframing?
I think they can view it as it's a wonderful opportunity to follow their heart song, to do what it was they were meant to be doing in this lifetime, to explore what parts of their life they've had to hide away or they haven't been allowed to express themselves, and to really do what it is they truly would want to do if they would allow themselves that opportunity.
I love that, the hiding part, because that's really it. We've been hiding our greatness and our light and our love.
We have, and without even realizing it.
Yeah.
And I think it just happens so slowly over a period of years that at some point we don't realize how much we've given up, how much we've hidden, how much we've lost. And certainly in my case, it took a significant event to wake me up, to help me realize.
So how would you define your soul song?
Now, what I've realized is two things. One is that I had spent most of my life thinking I was a human doing and not realizing I was a human being. And it's much more about who I am and how I show up in the world, rather than how I define myself by what I do. The other piece is that I've realized that my purpose is to be a bridge for humanity and to be a translator and to help people. And through my life experiences, there's so much I can do to help bridge where people are and where they could be.
Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for being you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was amazing. Thank you for sharing your story with us, Tom.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Is there something else that you didn't say that you want to make sure that comes across right now to everybody watching?
I don't think so.
Thank you for sharing it as authentically as you did. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's very precious, especially that bridge between the corporate to living a truthful life, authentic, without any boundaries. This is really beautiful, because the corporate life and the executive life is so structured, or used to be, that now the companies cannot evolve in this way anymore. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, much love, my beautiful co-creators. Bye-bye.